The kind that keeps you checking and rechecking every sentence in an email, the kind that has you editing a project into oblivion, the kind that whispers, "It's not ready." You're not ready. It convinces you that if you could just make it flawless, you would finally be safe. Safe from judgment. Safe from failure. Safe from shame. But perfectionism doesn't protect you. It suffocates you. It convinces you that the goal is to be untouchable. And in doing so, it keeps you untouched by progress, by connection, by real lived experience. We tell ourselves, "I'll start when I'm more prepared. I'll speak up when I know exactly what to say. I'll launch it when it's perfect." And in that gap between now and someday, we lose momentum, we lose time, we lose ourselves. The truth is, perfectionism isn't about being better. It's about avoiding being seen as not enough. It's a desperate attempt to control how we're perceived, to manage people's opinions of us before they even form them. It's a strategy we picked up when being ourselves felt unsafe. But now it's costing us too much. You don't grow when you wait to be perfect. You grow when you show up real, honest, and in motion. Let's get one thing straight. Waiting until you feel ready is a trap. There is no moment when the stars align and fear takes a vacation and you suddenly become a fully confident version of yourself. That's not how growth works. Clarity doesn't precede action. It's born from it. You get clearer by doing. You get better by starting. You don't learn how to swim standing on the shore, studying the tide. You learn by getting in the water. Mistakes aren't proof that you're not good enough. They're proof that you're doing the work. And most people never get there because they're too busy trying to perfect a version of themselves that doesn't even exist. You don't need more time. You don't need another course. You don't need to earn the right to begin. You need permission, but not from anyone else. You need your own permission to be seen in your mess, in your process, in your becoming. Perfectionism tells you to hide the cracks. But authenticity says, because your cracks are where the light shines through, your story, unfinished, imperfect, unfolding, is where your power lives. People don't connect with flawless, they connect with truth, and your truth is enough right now. The cost of chasing perfect is far greater than the cost of trying and failing, because at least when you fail, you learn something, you gain experience, you stretch, you build resilience. But when you chase perfection, you stay locked in potential. And potential that never becomes reality becomes a weight you carry every day. Deep down, you know you're capable of more. You're just scared to start without a guarantee of success. But growth was never supposed to be guaranteed. It was supposed to be earned. You don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just have to begin. One step, one word, one imperfect action at a time. You don't become brave by waiting. You become brave by doing. So let yourself be seen. Let yourself be messy. Let yourself be in it, not just preparing for it. Because the life you want isn't waiting for a more polished version of you. It's waiting for the real you, the one who's willing to show up, flaws and all, and say, "This is me. This is now." And waiting for perfect. We spend so much of our lives waiting for clarity, for confidence, for the green light that tells us it's okay to go. We tell ourselves we'll move when we feel ready, when the fear is gone, when someone validates our ideas, or tells us we're good enough. But here's the truth most people avoid. No one is coming. It's going to hand you the life you want. No one is going to tap you on the shoulder and say, and now's your time. Because it has been your time. It's always been your time. You just keep waiting for a permission slip that was never theirs to sign. There's a moment, quiet but powerful, when you realize you've been holding the key the whole time. Not because you're reckless, not because you know everything, but because you've lived enough to trust yourself. But we get so used to deferring. We ask for opinions before we trust our intuition. We look for signs instead of listening to our gut. And in doing so, we hand over our power in tiny, almost invisible ways, until one day, we wake up and realize we've built a life based on other people's expectations instead of our own truth. The hard reality is that no one can validate the dream you carry the way you can. People will doubt you. They'll misunderstand your passion, question your motives, minimize your gifts, not because they're cruel, because they don't see what you see, and they're not supposed to. That vision was given to you. It's not their job to understand. It's yours to protect, yours to pursue. So stop asking for approval from people who were never meant to walk your path. Stop shrinking to fit into rooms you've already outgrown. There's nothing selfish about stepping into your power. There's nothing arrogant. Trusting yourself. But we've been conditioned to believe that confidence needs to be earned, that self-trust is a risk, that humility means doubting your own worth. Let's rewrite that. Humility isn't thinking less of yourself. It's thinking yourself honestly. You're more capable than you've been acting. You're more powerful than you've been allowing. And deep down, you know that. You just keep playing small to stay safe. Every time you wait for someone else to approve of your choices, you reinforce the lie that your voice isn't enough, that you need someone more experienced, more educated, more respected to say, yes, go ahead. But the people you admire, the ones who are building, leading, creating, they didn't wait. They didn't wait until they were the best. They acted while they were learning. They spoke up before they felt ready. They moved imperfectly while everyone else was still asking for permission. The difference isn't talent. It's ownership. This is your life, your vision, your voice, and you don't need anyone's blessing to take the next step. The fear will still be there. The doubt may never fully leave, but they're no longer in charge. You are, so stand in your truth. Make the call. Raise your hand. Hit send. Whatever it is, do it. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're done waiting for someone else to give you what you've always had. The right to be fully, unapologetically, boldly you. The most powerful thing you can do in this life is show up as yourself. Filtered. And afraid of judgment. We've all been conditioned to hide parts of who we are, to present versions of ourselves that are more polished, more acceptable, more comfortable for others. It needs more perfection. It needs more of you. The real, raw, messy, beautiful, flawed human being who is just doing the best they can with what they've got. And when you start showing up as you are, without the layers, without the edits, that's when the real magic happens, because people don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. For so long, we've been told that our imperfections are flaws we should hide away. We've been taught that the parts of us that aren't tidy or presentable are weaknesses that should be kept behind closed doors. But what if we flipped the script? What if those cracks, the ones you're so afraid to show, are actually where your light shines through? When we embrace our imperfections, we give others permission to do the same. We become real, and real is what the world is starving for. The vulnerability to say, don't have it all figured out, but I'm trying, I'm learning, and I'm showing up anyway, is not a weakness. It's strength, it's courage, it's freedom. And in a world that constantly tries to push us to fit into a mold, freedom is revolutionary. Think about the people who inspire you the most. Chances are they aren't the ones who've got it all together. They're the ones who've stumbled, who've fallen, who've been broken and rebuilt, who've faced fears and pressed forward despite them. Their stories resonate with you because they are real. They didn't wait until they were perfect to share their voice, their work, or their heart. They did it with all their imperfections on display, and that's what gave them the power to move mountains. Because when you give people the gift of seeing you as you truly are, you give them permission to do the same. That's how you build connection. That's how you inspire others to step into their own truth. Perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion we chase, a myth that holds us hostage, convincing us that we're not worthy until we reach some impossible standard. But no one ever arrives at perfect. And even if they did, would it really matter? Would they suddenly feel free, fulfilled, and complete? No, because perfect is a prison, not a sanctuary. It keeps you tethered to fear, to uncertainty, to the need for validation. It keeps you from creating, from trying, from growing. And every time you hold yourself to that impossible standard, you are locking away your most authentic self. You are telling yourself, I'm not enough as I am. But the truth is, you were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to be real, and that's more than enough. When we start allowing ourselves to be seen, imperfections and all, we stop living for the approval of others. We stop shrinking in the shadows, waiting for a sign that we're good enough. We stop questioning whether we belong. Because when you accept yourself fully, when you realize that your worth isn't tied to perfection, to the approval of others, or to meeting external expectations, that's when you give yourself the freedom to just be. And that's when the world starts seeing you in a whole new way. People will start responding to your authenticity, your courage, your willingness to show up as you are, and they will begin to trust you in ways you never imagined possible. And let's not forget the power of your imperfections to create space for others to heal and grow. When you stop pretending to have it all together, you open the door for others to do the same. Your vulnerability becomes their invitation. Your courage to step into your mess gives them the permission they need to step into theirs. This is how change happens. This is how revolutions of the soul begin. Not by hiding our flaws, but by owning them, embracing them, and sharing them. Because in the end, your imperfections don't make you less, they make you human. And it is through our shared humanity that we connect, that we heal, and that we rise together. We often find ourselves paralyzed by the thought of failure. It stops us from trying, from reaching, from pushing beyond what feels safe. But here's the truth that most people avoid. Failure is not the end. In fact, it's the beginning. It's a necessary part of growth, of learning, of becoming who we are meant to be. Every time you fall, every time you stumble, you gain experience, resilience, and wisdom that success alone can't teach you. And that's where the real growth happens, in the mess, not in the flawless moments. Most people fear failure because they believe it's a reflection of their worth. They think, if I fail, it means I'm not good enough. But the reality is that failure is not a judgment on your abilities or your potential. It's just feedback. It's information. It's the universe's way of showing you where you need to adjust, where you need to try a different approach, or where you might need to dig deeper. It's the world's way of pushing you forward, not holding you back. Failure is a teacher, not a verdict. And once you stop fearing it, once you stop letting it define you, you free yourself to try without hesitation. The fear of failure often comes hand in hand with perfectionism. We convince ourselves that we need everything to be perfect before we even start, that we need to have it all figured out and ironed out before we take the leap. But here's the problem with that. Perfection doesn't exist. It's an ideal that keeps us stuck in the starting blocks, never taking the first step because we're too busy planning the whole race. But action is what gets you to the finish line, not perfect plans, perfect timing, or perfect conditions. The only way to move past the fear of failure is to take the leap, knowing that the landing won't always be graceful, but it will always be a step forward. The reality is that progress never happens without risk. And risk means there's always a chance of failure. But here's the kicker. The people who achieve great things are not the ones who avoid failure. They're the ones who move through it. They don't let failure dictate their future. They fail, they learn, and they rise again. Every great success story is built on a foundation of failures. The world's most innovative minds, the greatest artists, the most successful entrepreneurs, all have one thing in common. They embraced failure as part of the process. They didn't run from it. They didn't hide from it. They welcomed it as a teacher, as a guide, as a stepping stone to the next level. When you start reframing failure as a necessary part of the journey, something incredible happens. You stop seeing it as something to avoid at all costs and start seeing it as something to learn from. Failure is not a punishment. It's a moment of clarity, a chance to get closer to what works, to what feels right, to what will ultimately lead you to success. And as soon as you stop judging yourself for failing, you begin to see the beauty in the process. You realize that failure is not the opposite of success. It's a part of success. It's the grit, the resilience, the sweat and tears that make the victory worth celebrating. One of the biggest mistakes we make is thinking that success is a linear path. We want to believe that if we just follow the steps, if we do everything right, we'll reach our destination without setbacks. But the truth is, success is a winding road. It's full of detours, dead ends, and unexpected turns. And each of those detours is a lesson. Each failed attempt is a new opportunity for growth. Know that with each setback, you are being pushed closer to the version of yourself that is capable of achieving the dream you've been chasing. And that is worth every misstep, every stumble, and every moment of doubt. Because the only way to truly fail is to stop trying. And as long as you keep going, you'll always be on the path to something better. It's easy to fall into the trap of believing that success is something you can only achieve if you've got it all figured out. We tell ourselves that once we have all the answers, once we've perfected our plans, once we've overcome every obstacle, then we can move forward. But that mindset is a lie. Success isn't about waiting until you've got everything under control. It's about starting with what you have, trusting yourself in the face of uncertainty, and taking. The moment you wait for the perfect moment to arrive, you rob yourself of all the growth, learning, and opportunities that are only available when you take the leap before you're ready. The reality is that the most successful people in the world weren't necessarily the ones with all the answers. They were the ones who decided to act, even when they didn't have it all figured out. They embraced the discomfort of not knowing everything and chose to trust the process. They learned by doing. They understood that doing was more important than perfecting. You don't gain clarity by planning. You gain clarity by moving. The process of showing up, even when the path isn't clear, allows you to learn, grow, and adapt in ways that planning alone never will. The perfect plan is irrelevant if it keeps you stuck in the cycle of waiting. Taking action, even when it feels messy, is one of the most powerful things you can do for yourself. Every step you take, no matter how. But when you wait, when you allow fear to control your every move, you don't just delay your progress. You also delay your personal growth. You put off the lessons that only come from experiencing failure, facing discomfort, and overcoming challenges. These lessons are the ones that build resilience, adaptability, and strength. Without them, you remain stagnant, stuck in a loop of fear and self-doubt, unable to move forward. In truth, the gap between where you want to be, isn't as wide as you think. It's the gap between where you are now and where you'd like to be tomorrow that keeps you paralyzed. The truth is, you're already equipped with everything you need to take the next step. You don't need more resources, more approval, or more time. You need to take action. Each decision, each risk, each leap of faith will bring you closer to the life you want, even if it doesn't happen exactly how you imagined. The moment you realize that you're enough right now to move forward, you stop looking for external validation and start trusting